morning, Sydney. It is great to be back here in Sydney. This is one of the greatest cities in the entire world. Now, I know most of you live here in Sydney or the outskirts of Sydney, so let me just brag about you and your city for a moment, because there's about 100 people who have come here from 5 countries, and I'm told that many of them have never been to this incredible city before. It's sunny, it's clean, it's vibrant, there's great food and great weather. Pretty spectacular place. It's a place where we decided to make our ANZ headquarters home. And we're very proud of that. Our new office is right down there on Spring Street, 10 Spring Street. So you'll have to visit us for sure. And it's amazing, you know, every time I come here, before I get on the plane, I listen to that Robin Gibb song called Sydney. You close your eyes and you're back in Sydney, and all of a sudden we're here again. So I hail from Southern California, and we're accustomed to disasters. Fires, floods, earthquakes, devastating. It's devastating. Loss of lives, property, animals, wildlife, nature. We've been thinking about you and praying for you for the last few months now. It's a terrible thing that you're going through, and now that the smoke is settled and the fires are out, now the hard work begins. I want you to know that Alteryx for Good has put together a program. You probably saw some of the slides in the opening. We put together a program called Alteryx for Australia, and you can go to community.alteryx.com. You can search for that. There's a blog that writes about what we're trying to accomplish. I will tell you, it's pretty remarkable. We put out a target of $5,000 to be raised 3 weeks ago. We hit that in about 3 days. We raised it to $10,000 and hit that in a week. We raised it to $15,000 and hit that. Last night we hit just over $20,000, and so we now have a goal of $25,000 before the end of the week. We want to help you replant thousands of trees. We've partnered with One Tree Planted out of New Hampshire, and they'll make sure that you get back on track. So please participate if you can. Now the truth is, now that the fires are out and the smoke has subsided, the city is as beautiful as ever. It's a spectacular city. Within New South Wales, there's 2.5 million acres of nature parks and reserves that are absolutely spectacular to walk around. The bridge, some of our colleagues went up last night. I can't wait to see the photos of it. I was going to go myself, but a little nervous of heights. The Opera House, I believe, is one of those icons that, you know, rivals the Eiffel Tower in Paris, the Statue of Liberty in the harbor of New York, maybe even the pyramids in Egypt. Quite a spectacular sight to see. What I think that's exciting about Sydney and Australia in general is the remarkable talent, though, not just the sights and sounds, but the talent that people have called Sydney home. Sports, entertainment, science, mathematics, technology, pretty amazing. Now, coming from Southern California, we're about 40 miles south of Hollywood, entertainment capital of the world. But everyone you hear about in Hollywood all came from here. It's incredible. Hugh Jackman, Mel Gibson, Olivia Newton-John, Elle Macpherson, Nicole Kidman, Keith Urban, Keith Ledger, Paul Hogan, Rod Laver, Margaret Court. This could go on for days. You guys have created the front door to talent for the rest of the world. And that happens in analytics too, and you're part of that talent mix. Many of your journeys in analytics are not any different than the journeys of these great Australians that have done remarkable things. Eddie Mabo, the Indigenous Australian that helped overturn the High Court laws around ownership, or in the case of the law, it was terra nullius, nobody's land, and he fought to have the Indigenous have rights for land ownership. Or how about, I had never heard his name before, Don Bradman. That's incredible. You're laughing because you know what he's done. One of the most remarkable athletes in the entire world. In cricket, he had a batting average of 99.94. I mean, in the in the pro baseball league in America, if you hit 250, you're making 30 or 40 million dollars a year. It's silly. 99.94, one of the greatest achievements of any athlete in any major sport around the world. How about Elizabeth Blackburn? This is a very eclectic group, inclusive and diverse in every way. She studied the telomere. It's a protective structure at the end of chromosomes. And as a result of a bunch of research, developed telomerase, which helps protect those chromosomes with an enzyme. The first Nobel laureate to win the Nobel Prize for medicine. How about Rupert Murdoch? I bet you a lot of people don't really know the story. He had a chance to take over his father's business and chose not to. He decided to start his own media empire, and quite a media empire that he has built. Remarkable journeys, and I was like completely stunned to see AC/DC coming from Australia. Actually, just a few blocks from here in Burwood. You know, they started up one of the greatest heavy metal bands in history. I remember listening to them as a kid. 1973 they started up, and they toured with everybody. Led Zeppelin, Aerosmith, Kiss, Deep Purple, Blue Oyster Cult. Pretty remarkable that AC/DC came from Australia. And it's AC/DC, along with all of these other folks, that reminds me of your journey in analytics. Why? Well, before you discovered Alteryx, you were living in Excel, complex VLOOKUPs. Or if you're a trained statistician, you were trying to figure out how to get out of the last great analytics company software, SAS. AC/DC calls that the highway to hell. Now, I love hearing stories about these amazing people and journeys of remarkable success, just like yours. And over the next couple of days, we can't wait to hear your stories and your successes. We're going to have you tell them on stage. We're going to have you tell them to each other at our events and our cocktail hours and our training sessions. From right here in Sydney, this conference is about you amplified. We can't wait to put you into the spotlight and have you tell your story. Welcome to Sydney and Inspire 2020. Now, the personal stories of success that I just gave you, and even in your own successes, there's always an instrument of choice. A wicket, a bat, a court, a guitar, a piece of software, a pen and a quill. In some cases, in a musical group, 3-part harmony. But there's something more than just instruments at play. You know, Nike used to say that if you have a body, you're probably an athlete. I like to say that if you have a mind, you're probably an analyst. Any successful journey in analytics requires that mind, to be curious and creative and a little bit risky and trying things that you've never tried before. You guys know this, you do this every day with Alteryx. And of course, the hardest part of analytics, owning up to the fact that you got to know what question to ask to get to some useful outcome. Now, these are the characteristics that are also used by other great journeys. Remarkable journey here. So, last year I was given a button by a customer. His name is Rich Balter, and he's with a company called eScripts out of the East Coast in America. And on the button it said, "Never forget your first kiss, your first date, or your first Alteryx workflow." Now, I remember my first Alteryx workflow because I was doing beta testing back in 2005 as we were getting ready to roll out version 1. But I also remember my first kiss and my first date. It was listening to the Bee Gees back in 1973. So this is a great story about Barry Robin and Maurice Gibb. Truly remarkable journey. Born in the Isle of Man in the UK, playing to their passions, and they didn't really know what their passions were. Their father would put them on movie theater stages, and they would have lip syncing. They would fire up the round table, and they would put on records, and the Gibb family would stand on stage and lip sync. And the kids didn't actually know why they were doing this. Kind of like you, living in Excel, you're like, what are we doing here? This is like crazy. Well, the Gibb family finally realized what was happening. They went to a theater one night, and the turntable was broken, and the fans were in the seats, and they had to go live. And they realized that they had this incredible harmony, three-part harmony. And all of a sudden, they got amped up. They got amped up. This is their journey. Play into their passion, their real passion. And of course, that was that data aha moment for them where they said, I get it. I get it. Follow your passion and find what's true for you. And it was at that moment that the Bee Gees stepped into the spotlight. And the recording studio right here in Sydney. They moved as young lads to get out of the cold weather in the UK, right here in Sydney, and over a 36-year history built 43 albums. 43 albums, 83 singles, 9 #1 Billboard hits. The journey continued in 1978. The Bee Gees turned it up to 11. They turned it up to 11. This band of brothers didn't just create great music. They created a Saturday night fever culture all around the world by inventing a new genre, disco. It reminds me of your journey. Why? Well, they sold 54 million copies of that album. Turns out there's 54 million disenfranchised data analysts around the world who hate their jobs. Hopefully it's the same ones who are listening to the Bee Gees music. And of course, if AC/DC referred to your life pre-Alteryx as Highway to Hell, then the Bee Gees lyrics after you found Alteryx probably ring true. If I can't have you, I don't want nobody, baby. Now, their remarkable journey Alteryx music history in magnificent ways. They sold more than 220 million records around the world. Only Elvis, the Beatles, Michael Jackson, Garth Brooks, Paul McCartney have outsold the Bee Gees. Pretty remarkable with these young lads who were lip-syncing not many years before. In 1997, the year we founded Alteryx, the Bee Gees were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland, Ohio. With 9 #1 hits under their belt, they're the third most successful recording artists in history, next to the Beatles and the Supremes. Their journey's not a lot different than yours. They just played to their passion. They stepped into that spotlight, the recording studio. They turned it up to 11. And they completed their journey just like you're doing in the analytics space. Now let's talk about your journey, the modern analytic journey. Let's refer to it as the journey that's driving personal, business, and social outcomes for you and the organization that employs you. It's your company's journey to success in digital transformation, all to eke out that $10 to $15 trillion of value that's locked up in data sources in your own organization. They say that only 3% of data is being analyzed today. If you want to see this value, if you want to get to success in digital transformation, you have to have tools and minds like yours to free up that content. Now, this journey that we're going to talk about isn't a linear one. It's not necessarily a sequential one. Some people start at the end of the journey and think that they're going to migrate to the front, or they start at the front and think they're going to migrate to the end. Sometimes they're all in, and we're going to share some of these amazing success stories with you. Most of our customers do start at the beginning of the journey. They start with wrangling a few data sets to try and get some outcome in mind. Let's talk a little bit about that first part of the journey. Just like the Bee Gees, the beginning of your journey is you've got to play to your passion. I know this is hard stuff. Look at these statistics. 81% of data workers say that speed is just a huge issue in their careers. They can't get any work done. They spend all their time trying to get to an answer and no time actually analyzing the results. Why? Because it's complex. The research we did with IDC suggests that you need 6 different data inputs for any analytic outcome. You need 4 to 7 different disparate tools to get to descriptive, predictive, cognitive services. And then, of course, you need 7 different panes of glass to consume analytics in. So this is really a challenging problem. But as the Bee Gees wrote, now that you're down in the dumps looking at these numbers, how can you mend a broken heart? How can a loser ever win? Alteryx might be your path. You found a liberating instrument like Alteryx, making it really easy for you to get your time back, making work fun again, creative problem solving, put a smile on your face, sharing your work in a code-free and code-friendly manner with your fellow workers around the organization. And you have not embraced, if you've not embraced Alteryx, show of hands, who's not using Alteryx today? There's a few of you. Okay, well, there's another lyric. I've got to get a message to you. You better start dragging and dropping and clicking and running, because this data problem is not going away anytime soon. So get on board. This is exactly what's happening at one of the fastest growing brands in Australia. They seem to be Alteryxing everything in sight. Please welcome to the stage David Ralph of Pepper Financial Group.